just lost power. Welcome back to my kitchen and my year of cakes. I'm Sasha, and this year I've challenged myself to make as many cakes as I can. Just a fun little project for me. This week I've decided I'm making a chocolate Biscoff cake. A Biscoff chocolate cake. I have seen recipes for Biscoff cakes, but I have never had one of these cookies. So these little cookies, I've never had these, so let's try it. That's really nice. They are vegan. They just happen to be made without any animal product. So I've seen lots of recipes about Biscoff cakes, da, 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 da. And I think it's like I feel like these cookies are very big in the UK. I think the reason why I think that is because I saw Cupcakes and Doilies, no, Crumbs and Doilies. They've shared some recipes with Biscoff before, and I think they usually have like a cupcake in their stores that is Biscoff. So anyways, I picked up the cookies because I saw them. It's the first time I've seen them in the store. I kind of was like looking, being like, oh, I wonder if I can see them, and I saw them. And I also found this cookie butter spread that they have. And I guess you can put it on bread, but I feel like it's for dessert. It's kind of like, yeah, it's just the original caramelized biscuit, sugar, vegetable oil, sodium bicarbonate, soy flour. Oh, that's soy flour, salt, cinnamon. Oh wait, okay. I was reading. So actually, so it's just the original caramelized biscuits, canola oil, sugar, soy something, and citric acid. So we're gonna give this a go. We're going to make chocolate cake layers, adding in between the layers some of this little spread and some crushed up cookies. And I think I'm gonna do a Swiss meringue buttercream because I have some aquafaba in the fridge. So let's try that again. And we'll add some of this into the buttercream. I'm excited to see how this turns out. And my chocolate cake layers, I usually make them, and they are, you know, if you've watched these videos before, I usually make the cake layers and they're big ones, big boys. So I cut them in half, and I usually save the layer, half of the cake. So I've reduced the amount of the recipe. They still should be like pretty large, but maybe not as large. So let's get making this cake. So we'll start with the cake batter. Okay, so starting with the vegan buttermilk, a bowl. We've got our, now because I'm reducing the recipe, I did write everything down, so let me just see. So for our vegan buttermilk, we're gonna start with 1 1/3 cup of oat milk or any non-dairy milk. We just have oat all the time. That's what I prefer. So that's what we use. And I have 2 tablespoons of white vinegar. I'll stir this together. Then we're gonna put it to the side and let it become a buttermilk. So while that sits, let's bring over our dry ingredients and get those going. And today we're gonna sift. I don't sift my ingredients, but we're trying to improve our techniques one cake at a time, right? So let's see. So I've got my flour here. It's 2 cups of flour. So we're gonna sift that into this bowl. I actually think I went to sift last time, but this was in the dishwasher, so I couldn't. I've got 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda and 1/4 teaspoon of salt. I'll sift that. And then I've got 1/2 of a cup. So another way to say that is 1/2 of a cup of cocoa powder. And I mean, this is really the one that you want to be sifting, I think, because I find cocoa powder gets clumps in it. But I guess sifting everything is good. We're also gonna sift our icing sugar, which I never do, but apparently that helps make better buttercream. Yeah, so see, I've got these little, can you see that? I don't really want to pull it over, but I've got these little like pebbles of this. So I'm gonna use a spoon, try and break them up. So that was a good idea to sift it. I'm gonna whisk this together, the dry ingredients to the side. Okay, that's all dealt with. Let's bring over this vegan buttermilk. It's been sitting for a few minutes. We're gonna add in the rest of our wet ingredients. So I've got 2/3 cup plus 1/4 cup. What does that add up to? 2/3 and 1/4. Adding that in. 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract. And that's all we're doing in this today. I'm gonna take that whisk. I'm gonna whisk this together. We're going to use a hand mixer. You could use a stand mixer. I feel like using the hand mixer. Hand mixer is plugged in, ready to go. Pull over the dry ingredients. I'm going to add the wet ingredients in. Actually, I'm gonna get a spatula. Got my spatula. We're gonna add the wet ingredients in. and I'm going to mix it together. I knew I was forgetting something. Oil. Forgot the oil. Half a cup of oil, and we're just gonna have to add it in here at this stage because I forgot to add it in with the wet ingredients. It's funny, when I was mixing the wet ingredients, I was thinking, I usually add something else. Why don't I have it here? We've added it in now. Let's mix it. I was also thinking, I always do oil-based cakes instead of like the other style is like a creamed. So you have oil-based cakes and then people do like creamed butter with eggs. And I haven't attempted anything with an egg replacer or anything on that side, which I should do because we're doing all these different cakes. But it's funny because I was just going to talk about how I do oil-based cakes, and then in my head I went, wait, I didn't add oil. So imagine I just made this cake, got it, and then I was like, wait, what went wrong? My measurements, what did I do wrong? And then I forgot that I didn't add the oil. Oh boy, oh boy. Okay, this is mixed together nicely. So that's all mixed together. I've got my scale, and we're doing 6-inch cake tins. I've oiled them up and I added a square of parchment. You don't need to be busy cutting up the circles. A square will do. A scrap shape of any size will work too. That hack makes me very happy that I know it because it is just one less thing to have to worry about. It's cutting perfect circles to fit in. You don't have to do that. You can just do a square. Okay, let's evenly divide the batter, and I'm gonna weigh them to make sure. These are going into the oven at 350. I always forget for how much time with each different cake. So I'll check these probably at 25. I think they take a half hour. I think I usually say 25 to 30 minutes. If you're not aware, I'm just learning and testing things out. I'm not a cake baking expert by any means. I'm just having fun. So about 25 to 30 minutes. I'll get these in the oven. Cakes are in the oven, and I'm getting ready to start the Swiss meringue buttercream, but I was looking at a recipe that I had full intention of following. Now, if you know me, I don't tend to follow recipes. But when it comes to baking, I feel like I should follow recipes, but this is another situation where I'm not going to follow it. The recipe was calling for 1 3/4 cup of aquafaba, and I have like 1 1/3 cup. Now, something that I actually enjoy about baking is like if I'm changing up a recipe of my own, or if I am changing up a recipe and having to do the math of figuring out, you know, okay, if I'm gonna reduce this recipe by 1/4, what does that do to changing all like the tablespoons and you know, because they're their own. Anyways, the math part of it, I think it's fun. Sit down, I use my brain in a different way. I work in PR. We are not known to be the best at maths. Anyways, I was sitting down here and I was like, okay, so I have 1 1/3, but then the recipe calls for 1 cup of sugar. What's the difference between that, and how do I make the same ratio on everything else in the recipe? And you know what? I'm working on a limited time because Eric's napping, trying to get this done so I can be fully present with him when he's awake. And so we are going to do Sasha recipe. We're gonna go Sasha style on this. And Sasha style on this is use something as a guideline and trust your intuition. I do this with a lot of things. I am a rule follower in life, but when it comes to baking or knitting, I used to knit where I would follow like a recipe, what's it called? What do you say? Oh, he's waking up. Okay, anyways, I would follow stuff on knitting, and then I would be like, I think I'm gonna do this instead, and hopefully it works out. And it worked out. So I'm taking that same philosophy here, which I think is what you should do in the kitchen anyway. Like, trust your instincts. Have fun. So we're gonna go with 1/3 of a cup of aquafaba that's been sitting in my fridge, so we gotta use it up. So that's in there. I'm going to heat this up with 3/4 cup of sugar. It's probably a bit more than what the recipe I was looking for, but I think we'll do this. So we're going to heat this up get the sugar to dissolve, so I'll keep stirring it. Then we'll let it boil for about 5 minutes. Then it has to fully cool before we can move on to making the buttercream. So that'll be later on in the day. But that's what I'm gonna do now. Okay. Okay, Eric is napping again. I'm going to make up the buttercream. So again, we're doing a Swiss meringue buttercream. So this has completely cooled. I'm gonna add it in. I'm gonna whip this up. It's gonna take a few minutes. So while that happens, I'm going to trim the cakes, and I can already tell they are a better size. A little bit of doming happening, but I'm gonna trim off the sides. I'm gonna take off a little bit of that top. So I will do that while this whips up, because I gotta work with the time I've got. He's sleeping. Let's do it. Okay, so this is looking nice and whipped. Oh yes, so much better than the last time I tried to do a Swiss meringue. I was just like, oh, it didn't work last time. Remember last time? Do you remember? It was like goopy. Who knows? It might not stick, but it feels sticky. It might not stick, it feels sticky. Oh, gee. Yeah, okay. Okay. Okay, Sasha, let's get to it. Okay, in here, I'm gonna start adding stuff. So in here I have half a teaspoon of cream of tartar. Half a teaspoon of cream of tartar. I'm adding in a bit of icing sugar, mixing this in. I'm going to add this in a little bit at a time to help strengthen it. Ooh, and I'm doing 1 cup of powdered sugar, so I just pulled it from there, but I sifted my powdered sugar. We'll get back to whipping, adding a little bit at a time. Oh yeah, it's thickening up now, or it looks like it. Strengthening, is that what you said? That looks pretty good to me. Okay, I'm gonna keep whipping this, and I'm going to add in a little bit of icing sugar at a time, about a tablespoon's worth. Well, I'm just gonna add the rest of this cup of sugar. I think I should invest in one of those guards for my stand mixer. Okay, that is looking lovely. It's looking smooth, glossy, nice and thick. Look at that. Oh, okay. This is promising. I remember the last time I made it, like I could tell, I was like, it's not gonna work, and I just kept going with the hopes. But so far, this looks good. So now that this is in a state that I like it, I'm going to add in my vegan butter and vegetable shortening. We'll use a spoon. I'm gonna do about a 1/4 cup at a time and beat it in there. Ooh, I did 3/4 cup of 3/4 cup of vegan butter and a cup of vegetable shortening. So we'll whip this in. I think it still needs to whip for a while. So I'm just gonna let it whip, let it come together. Okay, this is looking good. Now I have some of the Biscoff that I've just melted so that it's a pourable consistency. Not like it comes right out of the container. It's a lot thicker, more of a spread. So I've got this in here. I'm gonna add it. This is probably more than I'm going to add. I'm gonna do a 1/4 cup. I'm gonna eyeball a 1/4 cup that I'll add in, and I've got 2 tablespoons of vanilla as well. So I'm adding the vanilla in. I'm gonna add in, yeah, about a 1/4 cup. I'll mix this in. Okay. Oh my gosh, that frosting is just so good. I'm gonna add more. It tastes so good. Hopefully I'm not messing this up. But I've already melted this. I mean, that's also part of my cooking and baking philosophy is I already have it. Let's use it. So good. Okay, I think we're ready to decorate. So let me, oh, the only other thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take these, I'm gonna crush them up. Actually I might just throw them in the blender and blend them up. Let's get started. Oh, this buttercream is so fluffy. It's beautiful. So I'm just gonna make a well. Okay, so some of that Biscoff spread. And then we have cookie crumbles. And I did some larger chunks. Let's do this. I'm gonna seal it. That's just something I'm gonna start doing. I've been watching lots of people's cake decorating and I keep seeing, well, I've noticed this technique of like sealing it after you put the layer on, like crumb coating while you're doing it, I think is a clever thing to do. So I'm gonna start implementing that. Okay, we have our last layer. How's that looking? Looking pretty flat. Okay, so I'm gonna put this in the freezer or fridge. Freezer, I think. Yeah, there's space in the freezer, so I'll put it in the freezer. If I have time, I will keep decorating. You know what? I'll probably end up finishing this tonight because I think Eric's gonna wake up from his nap soon. That whole process there was, let's see, like 10 minutes. So just in case you were wondering how long that part takes, it's not that bad. So this is gonna go in the freezer. I'll come back to it later. I'll do some tidying up. Yeah, I think he'll wake up in between now and then, so I'll just wait. I'm going to finish the cake. So this was in the freezer for a while. Nice little crumb coat. Let's cover it. Just lost power. Oh boy. All right. Oh. Okay, well, I'll keep decorating. You can still kind of see. We are trying to get a generator. Okay, well, I happened to melt the Biscoff just before I started, so you know what? I've been wanting to try and do this. I want to try and do like a waterfall type situation. Like, is that what we call it? Where you let it drip off the sides and kind of let it run over. I keep trying to try it on different cakes. I'm going for it. Okay. Got a lot. And we're gonna push it to the edges. I want it to go over the edges. You can drip, you can drip, you can drip. Yeah. Yeah. Power is back. I've decided I'm gonna try and do some little dollops. I've got crushed bits of cookie. I'm gonna put them in there. Okay, I think I'm gonna crumble some of this on here too. I think I'm gonna call that done. Okay, well, that was eventful, losing power while decorating. Now it's getting late. It's time for half a slice. Let's try this, shall we? Get a piece with everything. That's really nice. This is really nice. That buttercream is so silky and smooth and just like, oh, so good. I like the little crunchy bits of the cookies. That is quite a nice cake. That's nice. That is a really lovely cake. You would think, like I would think, by looking at that, that would taste very heavy. But that buttercream is just so smooth. Oh, that's so nice. I like it. So fun. That, I mean, that's a nice like birthday cake. Like, oh, if you're someone who likes a chocolate cake, I don't know, that's really good. I don't know what to say about it other than that it's good. I like it. I wonder what else I can do with Biscoff when it comes to cakes. I should really try and do cake layers with Biscoff in it. That is nice. That's a really nice cake. I really like it. I think it's gonna be a hit. I think Matthew's gonna like it. I think his work's gonna like it. That makes me feel good. It's really nice because like a chocolate cake, I think that buttercream, the buttercream is not too sweet. It's so fluffy and not fluffy, it's so silky and smooth. It doesn't make it feel heavy. And I think that helps because that cookie, the cookie butter, or the cookie spread, the cookie butter, that can be quite heavy. That can feel quite heavy. Like I've been tasting it throughout the day, but it doesn't make the cake heavy. I think that Swiss meringue buttercream, that is so good. That's so lovely. I'm really happy with how that turned out. And a little excitement with our power outage. Well, that's this week's cake. I'm happy with it. I definitely will make something with Biscoff again. I think this is a great one. I mean, can't go wrong with chocolate and cookies, right? This is good. Well, that is my cake in my year of cakes. Have you ever had Biscoff before? Let me know in the comments. What have you used it in anything? I really like this. I'm trying to think now, how can I use it again in the future? I've seen people do cheesecakes with it, so do a vegan cheesecake with it. That could be fun. Different, like a Biscoff cake layer. That would be interesting. Like the sponge, the cake sponge, and do that Biscoff. I'm excited. Well, if you haven't subscribed yet, hit the subscribe button. I will be back next week with another cake, and I'm not sure what I'm gonna make. So if you have any ideas, something you wanna see me make, please let me know. And I guess I will see you in the next video. Bye.